We did it. We did it. Unless our editors couldn't keep up and this has come out after WrestleMania 33, in which case, hey, we tried, but that's unlikely. We did it! 32 lists covering the oddities of every single WrestleMania ever. 320 f***ing fascinating facts. And so here we end with WrestleMania 32, and it's not that great. It started well and had some nice mental bits, like when that dad turned up with a flamethrower, or when that dad showed up and jumped from the tall thing, or when that dad lost his title in one of the most soundly rejected WrestleMania main events of all time. Difficult. It was a difficult show. So for the final time, I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 fascinating facts about WrestleMania 32. Number 10, technical issues resulted in an emptier stadium for much of the pre-show. After spending months hyping up a WrestleMania that would play to over 100,000 fans, the first pre-show match pitting Kalisto and Ryback took place in front of a notably sparse crowd. Turns out there were major issues for scores of fans waiting to be let into AT&T Stadium. The doors opened 20 minutes later than was originally announced. Then, due to network problems with the ticket scanners, some people couldn't get in. They had to get wristbands, but wristbands were only available at certain gates. Certain gates had working scanners, but the venue would only let you use the gate on your ticket, leading to a huge backlog, and corridors ran with punters chanting, "Let us in." Some fans who tried to force their way in were even tackled by security guards. It was an ugly scene. Number 9, all of the champs post-WrestleMania 31 were unable to compete 1 year later. 2015 was the year of the injury. Genuinely, it was a witch's curse. To perfectly illustrate this, none of the 6 individuals who walked out of Mania 31 as champion were healthy enough to work WrestleMania 32. Seth Rollins horrifically injured his knee the previous November in Ireland. Daniel Bryan abdicated the Intercontinental belt in May 2015 due to head injuries that would end his wrestling career. US champion John Cena was sidelined at the start of 2016 with a shoulder injury. At the same time, long-term girlfriend Nikki Bella, the Divas champion after Mania 31, was recovering from neck surgery. Cesaro worked the day after WrestleMania 32, fully recovered from a torn rotator cuff. His tag team championship partner Tyson Kidd wasn't so fortunate. Kidd sustained a near catastrophic spinal injury during a dark match with Samoa Joe in 2015, and it's unlikely he'll ever return to the ring. Number 8, Batista turned down a guest spot at WrestleMania 32. The slew of injuries couldn't have come at a worse time for Vince McMahon. He wanted the best WrestleMania possible for what looked to be a record-breaking crowd, and many of his top names were out of action. So he began reaching out to assorted legends to spice up the event, and even had something in mind for Biggest Banana, Bad Bonker Billy, Booty Banjo, Big Bad Big Dave. Dave Batista met with McMahon at the 2016 Royal Rumble in Orlando, where it was pitched that Batista would take part in a segment where Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels and Mick Foley would beat down the League of Nations. However, WrestleMania would take place during filming of Guardians of the Galaxy 2, thus Drax the Destroyer would be a little too busy for that one-off appearance. Also, would he have been booed? Probably. Poor Dave. Number 7, Zack Ryder replaced Neville in the Intercontinental Ladder match. 3 weeks before WrestleMania, Neville was working an innocuous match with Chris Jericho on Raw when he went to slide between Jericho's legs, his left foot embedded in the canvas, resulting in a ghastly fracture. There was no way that Neville would be able to work WrestleMania, and indeed, the Toon Boy would be on the shelf for most of a year. Originally, Neville was slated for the 7-man Intercontinental Ladder match, which ended up being won by his replacement, Zack Ryder. The win for Ryder was a feel-good visual for an oft-neglected talent. Well, for 24 hours and back down the ladder you go, mate. The Wrestling Observer claimed that Neville was not only replaced by Ryder, but also Sin Cara, which would mean that the original plan was for a 6-way with Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Dolph Ziggler, The Miz, Stardust, and Neville. Good lineup. Number 6, Stone Cold Steve Austin aggravated a shoulder injury when he punched Rusev, because punching handsome Rusev should be punished. At Mania 32, Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels, and Mick Foley beat up the League of Nations because the mid-card. It was a fun segment, but it left the rattlesnake rattled. In preparation for the appearance, Austin trained his little bollocks off and did his shoulder in, tearing his right rotator cuff and messed up his bicep and AC joint. Austin notes that fixing it would have been a simple procedure, but he wound up worsening the damage by taking part in the beatdown segment. He claimed that throwing the punches at Rusev turned what would have been a minor procedure into 2.5 hours of surgery. Matchka. Number 5, Dean Ambrose claimed Brock Lesnar sabotaged the street fight. Ambrose and Lesnar's planned match for WrestleMania 32 seemed to hold a lot of promise. Pitting an unhinged man with a chainsaw against an actual killer whale sounded glorious. Instead, the one-sided brief match ended up being one of the low points of a disappointing Mania. Ambrose's side of the story was made public in August 2016 during an interview with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Ambrose claims that he put a lot of work into designing the many nuances that the street fight would contain, but that he was met with laziness by Lesnar, who performed his usual multi-suplex routine in what basically amounted to a long squash match. Number 4, the triple threat was the first women's match in Mania history longer than 10 minutes. When the Divas Revolution was announced in July 2015, fans were ecstatic to see Sasha Banks, Charlotte, and Becky Lynch ascend to the main roster. The early days of the Revolution were a mixed bag of too many cooks taking a dump in the broth. By Mania, the potential for the ramped-up women's division became evident when Charlotte, Lynx, and Banks put together the match of the night. At 16 minutes and 3 seconds, the women's triple threat is by far the longest women's match in WrestleMania history. If you don't count intergender tag team matches, the previous record for longest women's match on the show came came 10 years earlier when Mickie James defeated Trish Stratus in a match at around 8 minutes and 48 seconds. The women's triple threat nearly doubled that record. Number 3, Undertaker vs. Shane McMahon spiked ticket sales. The Undertaker-Shane McMahon storyline made zero f***ing sense. However, WrestleMania 32 was in need of a boost, and Shane O'Mac's shocking return to WWE in February 2016 was the talk of the wrestling world. Though his hasty connection to Undertaker and the convoluted control of Raw storyline led to some head-scratching, it also started printing money. As of early February 2016, ticket sales were about 60,000, well short of their final attendance. According to Dave Meltzer, after the Shane-Undertaker match was made official, tickets began moving much faster. Makes sense, a hot angle on Monday Night Raw, thanks in part to a positively molten crowd in Detroit, appeared to be the jumpstart WWE had been looking for. Number 2, WWE didn't quite make it to 100,000 fans. WWE all but promised a 6-figure attendance for WrestleMania 32, hyping it up just as much as any match on the show. They announced anything short of that, it would have been a colossal letdown. WrestleMania 32 is far from the first Mania to have its attendance number massaged for entertainment purposes, but The Rock's proclamation of 101,763 fans on hand was a tiny bit bollocks. Dave Meltzer would later report the more accurate total was 93,730, which is still the largest actual crowd in WWE history by a comfortable margin. Vince McMahon noted in the February 2017 investors conference call that his 101,763 total factored in ushers, ticket takers, and anyone else in the building that didn't pay for admission. Meltzer then countered that by claiming if those non-paying entrants were added in, the total would actually have been 97,769, still short of the stated goal. Why hasn't Vince had Dave Meltzer killed at some point? And number 1, Triple H tied Shawn Michaels' WrestleMania record with his 11th loss at the event. Shawn Michaels' Mr. WrestleMania moniker stems from his show-stealing capabilities and definitely not from his record at the Grand Spectacle. In all, Michaels' WrestleMania ledger is 6 wins to 11 losses, and prior to 2016, nobody had more losses than him at the event. The Big Show failed to win 2 Battle Royals, 30 and 32, and if you count those as losses, he had 11 as well. Michaels' clique brother Triple H is often decried as a man who refuses to lose matches, and yet in 2016, he sustained his 11th WrestleMania loss in putting over Roman Reigns. Of course, Trips does have 9 WrestleMania wins, tying him with John Cena for the second most in WrestleMania history. The man with the most is, of course, Kathy Cryptipants, Spook Dog, the Staff Sergeant Fearsome, Dr. Steve Shriek, Benjamin Netanyahu, The Undertaker. Will Triple H surpass Shawn Michaels' record this year with his 12th loss? Hope so. And that's our list. Did we miss any out? Tell us about it in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter here. I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and I'll see you soon. We're done.